question I get asked the most is, what do we do to attract top-notch millennials, motivate them because they're not like the rest of us, and how do we keep them from leaving? That's a hard one. The question I get asked second most often is, what's the most unexpected thing you've come across in 25 years of researching generations? That one's easy. Half of what you have heard about millennials is wrong. Half of the frustrations businesses have about the younger millennial employees is wrong. Half of the frustrations millennials have about communicating with the older generations about what they need or what's different today is wrong. Half the frustrations that families have with their 20-somethings, they're wrong. Not wrong because they're statistically inaccurate, although a lot of what we read or hear about the millennials, I don't know where it comes from. It has nothing to do with social science. But even the stuff that social science correct, that's survey-based, half of it's still wrong. Gallup, for example, you can trust Gallup's research. They're doing a conference in a month about the millennials, and they are suggesting they are the least engaged generation in the workplace. While that's accurate, it's also wrong because it's not the millennials that are least engaged. It's a new life stage called emerging adulthood, and that's what's unexpected. This one, my friends, is a game changer because if it's the millennials, they're a problem that need to be fixed. If it's a life stage, it's a change that we need to understand and adapt to. And understanding that makes working together easier, and it makes being a father easier. Now, emerging adulthood is characterized by three things: freedom, choice, and change. It actually takes place between 18 and 27 or 28, and sociologists have only been talking about it the last 10 years. Now, it shouldn't be so unexpected, because if people are living 20 to 30 years longer around the world, then there should be more life stages in there somewhere. And so we should have seen it coming, but only about 2% of the people I talk to ever have heard about it. How do we know it's there? Because when you ask people on surveys who are over 30, when does adulthood begin? Full adulthood, they say 28, 27. When you ask people under 30, when does full adulthood begin? 27, 28. It's the one thing we all agree on. We all see it. We just didn't have a name for it. Parents say this: when I was 25, I had a mortgage and a kid. You need to settle down, quit turning your nose up at the wonderful people I find you, and bring me some grandchildren. What is wrong with you? Right? Bosses are, how do we motivate them? They're not engaged. Yes, because this is not going to be their career for the rest of their lives. How do we keep them from leaving? Simple. The research is absolutely clear. A mortgage and babies. That's when the boomers settled down. They just had a mortgage and babies earlier as the first generation to experience emerging adulthood. And so rather than explain emerging adulthood in business terms, let me show you the most unexpected benefit of the most unexpected thing I've learned. It made me a better dad to my 3 sons. Now, I have a daughter, but she doesn't face freedom, change, and choice because she's only a sophomore in university, and she's going into medicine, which means her next 8 years are pre-planned for her. So this doesn't apply to her, but my 3 business major boys, it applies to completely. And they illustrate the 3 characteristics or dimensions of emerging adulthood: freedom, choice, and change. My son Bart, he's 26. When he was 22, he graduated with 2 degrees, got married 3 months later, and headed off to a very risky startup. Now, all startups are risky. This was twice as risky as the average startup. His mother said, "No, you have $500 to your name and a new bride." He said, "My new bride can work. She can get into any grad school with her grades. We're fine, and we both want to live in Rhode Island." So they moved to Rhode Island, which has great lobster rolls, I have to tell you, after living in Chicago. Amazing lobster rolls, go Iggy's. And so they live out there. They're quite happy. They're dirt poor. They have hand-me-down furniture in the back of a U-Haul, and he just resigned last Wednesday. He ran out of money. He's not sweating it. He's 26. He has a wife, no money. I would be panicked as a baby boomer in the same situation, but millennials have an intensification of freedom that the older generations, when they experience emerging adulthood, didn't have. He said to us, why would I not do it now? I don't have the entanglements of later life, early adulthood. I don't need the money. We can put it on the credit card and you'll let us move back in with you, won't you? Yes, 1 out of every 3 millennials lives with their parents sometime in their 20s, and that allows significantly more freedom. In 1962, Alfred Hitchcock made a movie about boys that live at home too long. What was the name of that movie? Psycho. That's what previous generations thought about boys that lived at home. There is significantly more freedom today than there was back then. The second characteristic grows out of freedom, and that's choice. My son Josh is mellow. He gets a business degree. He has a minor in theology and church administration. He's going to get a business job last year when he graduates. His mother says, go do this residency. It's very selective. Try it. He gets in. He is a resident in a huge church in Phoenix. He finishes in 3 weeks with a master's in Christian education, and he's changed his mind, and he's now going to be a children's minister. Switches from business to his minor completely because he has choices, and his mother's pushing him toward choices. More than that, he has bad dyslexia. 15 years ago, he would have had no choices except laborer. Now, don't get me started. I think laborers are amazingly valuable and honorable work, okay? Mike Rowe and the whole campaign to give honor to people who are laborers in dirty jobs. You graduate with a business degree, you make $45,000 as a salesman. You graduate from an apprenticeship and are able to read a blueprint and you're a welder, you start at $75,000. We need to get off of this not honoring laborer stuff, right? All I'm saying is Josh now has choices because of assistive technology. He was on the dean's list all his years in school, was a TA the last 2 years. He has choices because of technology that previous generations never would have had. The last characteristic of emerging adulthood is change. Change roommates, change people they date, change careers, change places they live. Oh, I found somebody in Seattle on Match.com. We've been visiting each other. I think this is going to work. My wife and I were apart from each other when we were engaged for 6 months because a plane flight was $200 and long distance was $2 a minute. We didn't FaceTime. We wrote each other letters for 6 months while we were engaged. They're FaceTiming. I think this is my soulmate. I'm going to go make this work. The boss is going, you're my best millennial. You can't leave. I was going to put you in the succession plan. Dude, come back. You can blame it all on me. My son Max gets 3 job offers. He has flown to Vegas and wined and dined. I did not have these choices or these opportunities when I was graduating. And he started in a business degree, switched to IT, switched back to business, and got hired in video and photography because he made a website in his spare time. Friends, we're talking about change here. Here's what my best friend said to him, a COO of a company. Max is freaking out because he has 3 great opportunities. Max, you're not going to be there forever. It's your first job. Chill, dude. I don't know why the millennials aren't loyal. It's a new life stage. I don't know why they're not engaged. Because they're not 28 with a mortgage and a baby. We all just need to slow it down a bit. Because if we think it's a generational characteristic, we think we need to fix them. If we think it's a life stage, all we have to do is to understand it and shut up and listen.